here's just a quick one of the steps that I do for rolling. So I've got this tote, I'll put water in the bottom, have the rack, put the leaf on, let this sit, and then tomorrow afternoon when I go to wrap it, the leaf should be pretty soft and supple. So I just get out the bag, try to guess how many I'm going to do, and since this is wrapper, you can get at least 2 rolls. This being broadleaf, it's fat, so I can sometimes split it. So I'll try and open it up, try to get it to start to relax and be flat. I don't know if it really matters or not, but when I see when they're sorting, they always have like this tall pillow, and then they lay the leaves over it, so it's, you know, kind of getting into the right shape that we need. And if they're too dry, I'll just throw them in here and not do this. And you know, just when I'm putting stem up, I don't know if that matters. It just seems to be its natural way of. You can see this is getting kind of dry at the end. And then I usually try and hit them with super fine mist. There's like no real droplets, so you can get it a little bit wet. Since this is kind of dry, I'm just going to drop it in for now. And probably tonight I will try to flatten them out. See, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 12 wraps we can do. Also, the other part of pulling this out is, even though this was classified as wrapper, sometimes it's actually a binder. And then, like this one's got, I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the camera, but there are some spots here. Now for me, I don't really care, because it's just for me, for the most part. Or like this one's got some crazy tear. Now I can cut around it and just start from down here for a shorter one. There's also a rip here. Or maybe I'll just cut that leaf off on that side and leave it leave. So it's 1 more, 2 more. And what's going on there? Be real careful being wrapper that don't create any tears of our own. Get 1 more. The other thing would be is to get all of these laid out and try to get ones that are similar colors. And you can see how we got different. Granted, this is the inside of the leaf. You can see there's a lot of different shades going on, and this is pretty thin actually. That almost doesn't feel. And even try to get the same, like how thick the leaf is, how oily it feels. This feels really dry and really thin. Compared to this one, or 2, there's 2 here. This one is even, you can see the oil on the surface. It's got some little shininess to it. And how much darker it is, it's thicker feeling. Look how dark that is. I wish they all could be nice and dark like that. So then, under that note, it wouldn't hurt to throw some extras in. And then I can, once they get moistened, it'll be easier for me to open them up, look at them, and try to match the colors. Like these are really oily and all monkeyed up. So what I'm going to do is put these back in the bag for now. I'm not going to mess with it at this time. Alright, so here, I'll show you some of the tools I got. First thing, most important, like a coffee. It's early in the day, well, early afternoon, late afternoon, need some whiskey. So, Fisker brand, this is actually, I need to sand this down, it's getting a little rusty because it's been wet. But this is a cloth cutting. You can pick them up at Walmart. This is, I can't remember what the term is, but you can get these on Amazon. They're like just choppers. They've got a special name. Since I don't have a lot of tobacco, to sort through, get sizes right, I struggle with using a mold, so I just make strips. So I'll lay the strip down after it's bunched and roll it up tight. So I use this and just cut up computer paper, printer paper, and use that. A lot of people will use newspaper. I haven't seen a newspaper in a very long time. For the glue, I've got the Burmacol cigar glue, and then I warm it up, some water in a dish, put it, once it's, make sure I don't melt this. Let's put the water in here first, and then put the glue. I would start with 50-50 and work your way until it's what you think is good. This might be a little too thick. I might have to go add a little more water to it, we'll see. But that's the glue to hold it together. And then for a board, I got, this was just a remnant piece I got at Menards of like a granite floor tile. It was like $5 or something, really cheap. So that works really well. I've taken a, what is it, a cookie sheet, flipped it upside down and used the back of it, but it kind of flexes and bows. I think I prefer stainless steel plate over the granite. You can see there's some cracks in here and stuff, but it's still holding up pretty good. Two other tools I forgot to mention. I don't know if you noticed the steam coming up here. I get a humidifier going because it's usually dry in this area. The other tool is a real cigar that was made by professionals, and so you can feel it. This is a 6x60 brick house. I like a little bit smaller than this, unless it's a box press. So you can kind of get the feel, kind of know what the size feels like in your hands. So as you're bunching it together, once I get started and decide how many of each leaf I want, I can know kind of what the size is going to be in my hand. And that just helps give me as a guide, use it as a guide. Got a binder leaf here, and I just like using Chivetta because I can get a good clean edge and I don't end up ripping and tearing the leaf. I just want to cut the center vein out. Get that. I don't want that. And then we got these two guys over here. Another one. I usually try to get a couple of binders ready, so I can just make a bunch, make a couple, and then I'll pause, get a couple more ready. Professionals have a whole department that does this for them, so the rollers can just roll. So there, I got enough for six binder leaves here. I'm going to do 2 binders per roll. I'm using, this one is a Dominican, which is Piloto Cubana, something like that. And I'm going to do a Mexican San Andreas as one of the binders. These are, you can see it's tied up here. This is called a hand tobacco. I don't know how many of these are there, but you can see there's quite a few in that bunch. So I already broke this other hand apart. So 3,
start with 3 right now. These are kind of dry. I might have to get them moist before I can work them. Back in. Let's see what we got here. I'll be able to work with it. This is the stem out, so they want to curl in like that. So try to work it this way. This one is technically wrapper I'm using, so it's a little more expensive, but they didn't have any binder grade. So this one does have a couple little holes in it, which wouldn't be the end of the world, but especially for me, smoking it myself. So here's the tip. You can see it usually gets darker towards the tip, and you can see it's lighter and thinner up towards where it was on the plant. And you can tell the stem is thicker down here. And it gets smaller up towards the top. Just try and lay it down flat as best you can. Just cut this up a little bit. So I'll set this over here. I don't want to mix them up. I'm trying to keep it so I know which one's which. Like that. And then another tip. If you wanted, try and pull the stem out. Just tear it out. You want to start at the top, because you can see all the veins in the leaf are going in and then going out and up. So if you pull this way, it might grab one of these and then pull sideways and ruin up the leaf. You have to use it as a filler or some other thing, or just throw it away. But you can go and just pull it down. And you can see like these stems coming up on the San Andreas, they're kind of thick, so it wants to grab on those. That's why I just prefer the Chivetta. But this is the other way. There we got the stem out, and then you can also see how jaggedy that inner edge is. And it's got a big old tear in it. Instead of having a nice clean cut, you know, it's a little frayed. It might tear easier when you're pulling it tight like that. It's got a tear. Let's see. So, anyways, just a binder leaf. And you could always trim out the little section. Like if I was going to use this as a wrapper, you know, you'd be cutting this off anyways, like a fillet, if you will, is what they would call it. So, but for binder, that'll be totally fine. Again, this one, try to get it flattened out, unwrinkle it best you can. Don't know if that would matter too much, but I imagine if this is flatter, smoother, you're gonna get a better burn on it when you go to light it, burn it. Shoot. I thought I had another leaf. This one? Oh, this one's kind of small and thin compared to the other two. Oh yeah, I thought this was just a stem. One note on the stems, I've read where people will take the stems and blend them up and make like a solution, because most bugs do not like the tobacco and the nicotine, And then if they have a garden, they can spray this on their other plants to help keep the bugs away. I've not tried any of that, just something I've heard. But you could Google that, see if it's something you'd be interested in or have a use for. So then in making cigars, you kind of would want, preferably you want to have every leaf the same size and shape. Obviously that's not possible. This one I should probably not use because it's going to be considerably different than the others. Like look at that. So I don't know if this is a higher priming because the leaves on the top are thinner and are thicker usually, but smaller overall than the leaves on the bottom. I don't know. I'll just use it probably because I'm not selling these. They're just for me to enjoy. And then something I don't have out yet. Normally I have a roll of paper towels right here and a little spritz bottle of cleaner that is safe to eat and drink. So that way I can keep this clean as I'm working. Here for the blending I'm doing, I got leaf only. We'll see how the bunch goes. I've got Nicaragua, Condega, Ligero, Nicaragua, Jalapa, Seco, Jalapa, Ligero, Esteli, Ligero, and the last one, Seco from Esteli. My plan is to do a whole leaf of the Secos, half leaves of the Ligeros, and bunch them together. So I'm going to get the Ligero leaves out. I'm going to cut them so they're in strips, so they're easy to work with. And I'm not going to bother trying to pull the stem out manually. I'm just going to cut it with the Shveta. So I'll get those prepped and ready to go. Okay, so I got some leaves out ready to go. I get a little bit out at a time because it's probably 30–40% humidity in here. If I would have started the humidifier this morning real early, it would have been better, but I don't want the leaves to dry out and crumble to smithereens. So this Esteli Ligero, it feels more like Viso to me. Not that I'm an expert, but like comparing it to this one that's Ligero, it's not nearly as thick. This one that's considered Seco is thinner, which it's supposed to be. So you've got Secos, the thinnest, at least in Nicaragua standards, and then you've got Viso, which is higher up in the plant, and then Ligero's at the top of the plant. It gets the most sun, and gets to be the best. So then I need to get my binder leaves out here. So that's the tip, like that. So this is the tail, the foot, closest to the center stalk. This is the tip of it. And then we've got San Andreas, this is the thinner one. I'm trying to get it so they're going the same way. So that's not the right line, the other side. Do it like so. Actually, no, I only have, no, that is right. So I'm making it, this one is a little bit thinner than the San Andreas, so I'm going to put the San Andreas here, thinner one in the middle, because I'm going to do broadleaf, Connecticut broadleaf, which is a thick leaf. So I put the thinner one in the middle. I don't know if that's good, if it's bad, find out. So I need to change this order. Start with the Seco leaves and then put the Ligeros in the middle. So this is one Seco leaf, and I just do a fold, and then a fold, and a fold. Just make it into like a tube. And then get the next one. Steel. And let's go the other way. Wait a minute. Nope. Let's just fold it in there. So I don't know if it matters. I try to have the stem on the inside. Now when I was in Tampa a couple weeks ago, took a rowing class. The guy didn't speak English, so I couldn't ask any direct questions, but he watched me, pointed out things, and I was trying to roll these way too tight, apparently. At least the way he showed me. And then this guy, I want to make sure I have the tips all going the same way. This is pretty thin, so I don't know if I can even roll it much. I'll do something like that. And then you want to put the thicker leaves more in the middle, because you have the thinner leaves on the outside, it helps keep the middle going. So I got that, this one, roll this way. Put that more in the middle, and this guy, yep, roll it up a little bit. And then the reason for the tubes is it helps create airflow. If it's in a tube form, then the air can go through the tube. So each one of these would be little tiny tubes inside. So now, as you see, next thing we need to work on is the shape of that. It's gonna, you know, your cigar would end up looking shaped like that. It'd be fat in the middle and skinny on both ends. So what you end up doing to fix that is you can go and you take the ends off, and we go and we just put those up into the front end. Sometimes I'll take the tips and flip them around, but I'm just going to do it this way because it's going to be faster. And then I just kind of bunch it up with my hands, kind of see how's that going to feel. And I feel this guy, my real one, granted this hasn't been compressed down anything, I think it's going to be a little thin, but I may actually, in this process, which one is which? This is jalapa. I'm going to throw another jalapa seco in there, because I like my cigars thick. And then I'm going to cut the tails off and bring it back up top. And then, some of the crumbs out of the way, right down. And just kind of fold it over and just start rolling it up. I try to get it tight here, since I'm not using a mold. I like my cigars solid, and I like them to have more, not a tight draw, but a nice firm draw. And you kind of feel it along the way. Make sure that you don't feel any big soft spots. Feels like there's a little soft spot here. So I might roll this back. I might just take this extra little leaf that was over here. Just kind of tuck it in. Now that might give it a little bit of a wonky burn, possibly. I don't know, I'm not that scientific or know that much about it. And then roll it out. This will help you find any hard spots, soft spots. That feels okay. I want to help get the bunch better, and then you can, I don't know how well it matters since I'm not putting it in a mold necessarily. It helps smooth it out. I'm stretching it. And then again, we're just going to wipe this off. I'll get my paper strips. They're inch and a quarter wide. I found works pretty good. If you go much thinner than that, then they'll tear on you when you pull tight. So then I get it just when it comes around and starts to go under, and then I pull it really tight. Roll it a little, pull it really tight, roll it really tight again. And then you can see this is unraveling a little bit here. So what you can do in that situation, some manufacturers I've watched videos on, and they'll put a little glue on the binder part just to keep it in place. I think overall that will help with the structural integrity of the cigar. And this is also, doing it this way, I've had a couple cigars have kind of a bend in them because I did something silly. So obviously it's not going to go all the way, so we'll just get another piece, get another strip, continue on. Nope, get it tucked. Exciting part right here. And this is going to probably get cut off right up in here, so we'll just call it a day there. And then I forgot to get my tape out, but I would put just a piece of tape on it, and then I'll mark them number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and so that way I just know which one I did first, and then when I go to wrap them, I'll wrap them in that order that I had rolled them. So that way they all have similar amount of time resting. So here we go. The wrapper leaves. There we go. Flexible. Let's let that down. Just this. We can play with it a little bit here. Cover the other guys up. Okay. So here's the fine mister. I used distilled water in it. Get them wetter if I need to. It's pretty good. Okay. Kind of ugly with the different transitions in color. No. Since it's just for me, I'm good. So let's see if I can do this. Maybe not. I think it's too wet. So I'm starting from the top, trying to pull down. You can do that to get the stem out. I learned that in Tampa from my guy. Alrighty. Now, what I'm gonna do is take one of these, put it back in the bin. I'll just keep the one out. So does that make sure I'm getting everything? Yeah, I think so. So here, what I like to do is just spritz some water down, stretch it out. The water on the flat, smooth surface will help it to stick. Tobacco oils are on the sticky side. Stretch it out. I'm going to use that pizza cutter, but it is rusty, so I need to take some steel wool to it. So we use the Cigar. Get some more water down to stick better. I'm going to try to get 2 wraps out of this. So we trim top edge so we get a nice straight edge when we have the cigar wrapped. Something funky here. Let's go this way. Alright, looks good. Then you need about 2 inches. I'm going to try and just cut it down the middle. So that way, hopefully, it will be big enough for 2. Top, bring it down. At least I made a couple small guys, so we should be able to make that work. Alright, so stretch it out a little bit. See, there's something funky here. On the inside, doesn't really matter. Okay, so now all of these over here. Number 1, I didn't cut the foot. I should do that. Do that before I start the wrap. And then unravel it. See, that's what, even if it was in a mold, it would look similar. Not quite as bad, but let's trim this guy off. And I don't have a tuck cutter, is the thing that's flat and you chop it. So they're very expensive, 200 bucks, give or take, depending if it's new or used. So a regular old cigar cutter will work just fine. Alright, so then just try to line it up with these veins. See how the veins are going? And then you want to pull it tight as you wrap it here. You want to pull tight, stretch it out, and pull. Because the goal here is the fillers are dry. When they get wet, they're going to expand. The wrapper is wet now, and when it gets dry, it's going to shrink. And that will get you a nice, tight wrapped cigar. And then wherever there's a vein, you can kind of rock it back and forth and try to push it in a little bit. You usually have to do this a couple times because I don't quite get it right the first time. So then the next thing you want to do is look for 3 wraps. So we've got the seam, the seam, the seam, and then the very beginning, which we'll chop it off right about there is where it gets solid. And then usually once that's good, we can get our glue. Some glue on that dude. Pull that tight. I'll usually just twist this together. I'll get some glue on my finger, and we'll put some glue on that. Towels. Glue off my finger. Cutter. Nip the little tip. And then one of the other things I'll do is slide up on it, because that will pull the wrapper tight and help lay the seams down. You can look and see how work the seams if you need to. That one's not quite as tight as I would like, so let's pull on this a little bit more. It takes time to learn how much tension you can put on the wrapper, but I'd say that looks alright. Let's chop this end off. Now let's find, where am I at? Find where it starts to get solid. Whoops. Right about there. Bring it in and chop it. There we go. Now we know which way is the head, which way is the foot. And then once it dries out, the colors will get a little bit better as this sits and rests, and the fillers get humidified, they'll expand, and then it will look much better than it does now. But not too bad. And really, the end of the day, we're just gonna burn it, so it doesn't matter that much. And one thing I forgot was the bands. So I just make, again, strips. I usually make these thinner, and then I will get it about the right size, get my cutter, get it notched or scored, tear it apart, and then I'll write on it. I'll usually put the year, the month, and the day, and then dash 1, and then 2, 3, and so on. And then I'll usually put the wrapper and binder on it, because I've got enough room for that, and that's, I don't know, nice to know those things. The binder being that you can taste it, since that's the part in your mouth touching your lips.